So let's start by sitting upright. The head is gently suspended from above. Body is relaxed at ease. Let your breath gradually sink down into the belly. Breathing comfortably, slowly. Gently smiling a bit with your lips, your eyes. Receiving yourself with kindness, with warmth. A sense of appreciation. Gradually let your eyes, your forehead become more and more soft, more and more relaxed. Allow your mind, your consciousness, gradually fill your entire body, saturating every cell. Just feeling the body as it sits here. As you breathe in, feeling the body, breathing out, releasing, softening. Allow your body to gradually release all the tension that it may have stored. You may even begin to feel as if your entire body is made up out of breath. And all the sensations that are there move together with your breathing, expanding, contracting, opening, closing. The whole perception of the body is one of aliveness, one of energy. Very vibrant. So as you breathe in, you feel this aliveness that you have learned to call body. As you breathe out, releasing through it, softening through it. We'll see if that feels nice. If you enjoy that. Actually paying attention to what is nice, what feels good. As we sit here breathing, feeling, softening, the body and the mind settle down all by themselves. Just like dust that would settle when there is no more wind. And just witnessing how everything settles more and more with each out-breath. How the energy in your body slows down. How the speed of your thoughts and the movement of your attention slow down. Now, as you breathe in, simply know that you're breathing in. Knowing when the in-breath begins and when it ends. And as you breathe out, same thing. Just knowing that you're breathing out. So we're training ourselves to not forget the in and the out breath. Just keeping the breath in mind. If you're a beginner with your meditation practice, you will notice that your attention is very unruly and moves around a lot. Moves to thoughts, to sounds, to other feelings. Bouncing from object to object. And every time you notice that, just gently return to the breath. Am I breathing in or out right now? And see if you can keep the breath in mind for the duration of just one in-breath, from the beginning to the end. See if you can include the out-breath. It's never really more. It's just only this one breath right here, right now. That's all you need to keep in mind. Also, for those of you who are totally new to this, remember that it's completely normal to be wildly distracted. having a lot of restlessness in your body and your mind. That's because of a lack of training. And over time, this will get better and better. You'll be able to have shorter periods of distraction, longer periods of serenity, calm, rest. Also avoid the mistake of forcing or pushing your attention onto the breath. Instead, let your attention naturally return to it. Each time you notice that you're distracted, soften your brain, soften your eyes. If you feel like it, you can smile a little bit. And only after you've done that, slowly return to the breath. There's no rush at all. Guiding yourself very skillfully with lots of kindness, also warmth and compassion. And just right in accordance with your needs. You may become lethargic, the mind may fog up, everything may slow down too much, sinking into sloth, laziness. If that's the case, you may need to pick yourself up a little, add some energy. If you find that you have too much energy and the mind is all over the place, very restless, you need to do things to help yourself become more calm, more centered. Neither too restless nor too dull. Now somewhere in the middle. A type of calm alertness. And remember, just being mindful with this one breath. Am I breathing in or out right now? How do I know? Coming back, resting the eyes, the brain, softening, and coming back to the breath. And if you like, in your own time, you can slowly return and open your eyes, gently stretch a little bit. So, good evening, everyone. It's nice to have you. So let's have a little look at the practice of meditation. Looking at it from a more general perspective. Why are we doing this? Why are we sitting here? Why are we trying to keep our attention on the breath and so forth? What's this for? So actually it's fairly simple. The first thing you want to do is make your mind usable. So you can actually use it for something meaningful. For a beginner, somebody that has no training, has never practiced, the mind has no power. It's like you have never used a muscle in your life, so it lacks power, has no strength. So the first thing we do is strengthening the mind. Very simple. And for the mind, strengthening means stabilizing it. Now, what do we stabilize? What kind of aspect of the mind particularly? The attention is that which is moving from object to object normally. Fortunately, there's not too many objects. There's just 6. So the mind, your attention may move to 6 things. For example, sound. If it goes to the ears, you're hearing something. Or the attention may go to your eyes. You may see something. It may go to your nose. You smell something. It goes to your mouth. You taste something. It goes into the rest of your body. You feel things. And it may go into the mind itself. And so you have all this mental content, like thoughts, ideas, visions, future, past, memories, all these kind of things. So these are the 6 senses, you can say, or the 6 objects that you can be aware of. And what the mind usually does for an untrained person is it wildly jumps from object to object. So it jumps from the ears to the nose, to the eyes, back to the thoughts, then back to the ears. Then you're feeling some things. It just kind of bounces around all the time. And if you have observed a little during this meditation practice, you may have seen and experienced exactly that. The mind is jumping from sense object to sense object, right? There's something you don't have to believe in. You can see directly for yourself. If you sit down calmly and you ask yourself, what am I paying attention to right now? What am I paying attention to right now? What about now? What about now? It's always different. For example, pick a feeling in your body, any sensation. You're feeling it right now, and right now, it has changed between those 2 points in time. It's already different. The feelings are very much alive, very dynamic. They move through the body like wind. Sometimes a bit more like water, sometimes a little bit more like stagnantly flowing, calm waters. But they're always in motion. So no one moment of feeling is just like the other. But we don't see this because we're not able to pay attention to that extent. So it feels much more like I'm looking at a blob of feeling that stays there forever, or something like that. To the untrained mind, it's really hard to actually look into the truth of feeling, because what we're seeing is much more a concept about feeling. Oh, there is some sadness. That's very unprecise. What do you mean by sadness? Exactly. Precisely. If I gave you a needle and I would have you search for that sadness thing that you've just seen and pin it down, what exactly would you pin down? Is it a sensation in your chest? Is it really exactly in your chest, where on the left or on the right? Where's the exact point of that sensation? Where is its center? And you'll see very quickly it becomes very complicated. You can't actually find any thing, but you can find a whole lot of stuff going on. Sensations, thoughts, flickering images, rapid tensing up and releasing again, everywhere in your body. It's a whole firework of stuff. And just because you haven't been looking clearly, deeply, you just kind of, excuse my French, dumb it down. Like you just call it sadness. Or anger. I'm so angry right now. It's like a dumbed down version, a simplified image that kind of helps us not to feel overwhelmed by the complexity of our actual real-time, real-life experience in this moment. Which could be quite overwhelming if you are just experiencing it head-on, all of it. Imagine you would experience all of your senses completely, fully open in this moment. It'd be an onslaught. Full-on attention in every sense. It'd be way too much to handle. So your brain is kind of protecting you from that. It filters out things. It's very well known. The brain is filtering out experiences, so you're not overwhelmed by everything at once. So attention is that faculty of the mind that browses around and it picks and chooses what it observes and what it energizes. That little saying that we have when we say pay attention, it's almost like a currency. You let your attention flow into something, it will feed that very thing. It will nourish it. It's like you're paying that thing. You're investing in it. And so depending on what kind of things you're paying attention to, that's going to determine who you become. You could pay attention to wholesome thoughts, you'd become a happier person, a happier being. You could pay attention to unwholesome thoughts, the result will be the opposite. More suffering, more stress, more tension. More fear, the loss of hope. Who makes you lose your hope, for example? Who makes you afraid? It's a good question to ask ourselves, like how much is my part in this whole experience right now? What am I doing? What's my part in this? I'm experiencing sadness. How much of that sadness is actually coming to me from outside? And how much of it am I actually creating right now? And you can again directly observe that the sadness that you experience, if you look into more depth, into more detail, is actually something that you do, that you uphold, that you're feeding, like feeding a fire. As long as you put gasoline or wood into your fire, that fire will burn very brightly. That's the way it is. So what you're paying attention to, that is also what you're feeding. And if your mind is untrained, your attention is going to be all over the place. And it's going to go to where it's been going. Your attention so far in your entire lifetime has been conditioned. Been conditioned by education, for example. It's been conditioned by the people you hang out with, the media you consume. Also, the media you consume is, for example, also determined by what you have paid attention to previously and how you have paid attention to it. So it's just an ongoing kind of automatic, like, yeah, most people live kind of on autopilot. Like if your mind is untrained, your attention will go to wherever your environment says it has to go right now. If I say something offensive, you have to feel offended. Like, that's a weak mind. You don't choose what you're going to feel. You're not in charge. I'm in charge. I say the offensive word and off you go. It's like I'm pushing the button and you're losing it. That's the opposite of freedom. That's bondage. But the external world, the impressions that you receive each and every moment determine how you feel. So no wonder people feel like, oh, I'm happy because the sun shines. Or, hey, I'm feeling great because this morning my wife made amazing coffee or something. So your happiness and your sadness always seems to be connected to stuff. Things that are going on, stuff that's happening, things you've heard. I'm feeling so happy. I'm in Phuket now. I'm on a holiday. So my happiness is because I'm in that location, because of the idea of a holiday. Now I don't have to work, so I can now be happy. That's bondage. It's the opposite of freedom. I'd rather be happy when I want to be happy. Not being happy only when things are right. And if things are not right, I can't be happy. If I get sick, for example, I can't be happy anymore. My happiness is taken from me. If I lose something that is dear to me, I can't be happy anymore. Because my happiness was attached to that thing. That's the problem with the weak mind. Because your attention is constantly conditioned by external forces, you will be conditioned by external forces. Who you become, what you do, how you react to things is entirely conditioned by external forces. That can be good as long as your external forces are good. Perhaps one of the reasons why the Buddha strongly suggested that the entire path is determined by the company you keep. That's everything, he said. It's 100% of the path. His cousin, Ananda, mentioned to him, perhaps he had some kind of insight or something, and he said, well, noble friendship, noble companionship is half of the path. And the Buddha said, no, don't say that. It's all of the path. It's everything. Just precisely because we are constantly conditioned, it'd be a wise move to be conditioned by what we respect and what we look up to, what lifts us up, instead of being conditioned by what pulls us down, makes us weak, angry, unhappy, etc., etc. So reclaiming our attention, that requires some practice. And that's precisely the reason why we sit down and we try to rest the mind with, for example, the breathing or any kind of object. Could be a mantra, could be a prayer, anything. The point is that you want to stabilize your mind. That's how you give it power. Centering yourself, however you want to call it. It's the same thing. so that you decide where your attention dwells, for how long it dwells there. That is freedom. But to the normal untrained person, it doesn't feel like freedom at all. You start sitting down, you practice meditation, it doesn't really feel like freedom at all. It feels very much like prison. Like, wow, I can't move. I have to focus on the breath. This is like, feels limited, doesn't it? You're limited to the breath. You can't go anywhere else. You can't just wildly jump around anymore. You now have to stay with the breath. And you have to kind of find some joy in that. And there is plenty of it. There's plenty of joy in it. But until you discover that, you have to kind of stay long enough. You have to hang around to discover that. So that's the initial phase of meditation practice. You'd have to make a lot of effort. You know, like lighting a fire with a stick. You have to rub the stick really fast. And it's freaking tiring. Have you ever tried that? I've tried. I failed miserably. I could produce a little bit of the smell of smoke, and I saw like a little bit of smoke, but my arms would just burn out. It's so hard to keep going. Yeah. And so meditation is kind of like that. You'd have to create an ember first. And then ember then will be the potential for lighting a fire. And once you have that little first flame, you need to really protect it. So once the first little inklings of happiness, joy, bliss arise within you as a result of the mind becoming still, you have to really protect that, be careful with it, and keep feeding it, keep nourishing it. And eventually, once you have a good fire going, you're well taken care of. You won't be annoyed by the mosquitoes of life. You'll have light so you can see clearly. And your mind becomes useful so you can cook things with it. And it purifies too. You can purify water with fire. So it becomes drinkable. So you can turn poison into medicine. You can do a whole lot of stuff once you have a fire. Fire plays a central role in survival. If you're able to make fire, it's pretty good. So in meditation, it's the same thing, really. You stabilize the mind first. Once you have a stable mind, then why would I make my mind stable? So that I can clearly know myself. Why would I want to know myself? Well, because I want to understand how I create suffering and how I can stop doing that. How I can let go of suffering. How I can liberate myself from it. How I can become free, unbound, independent of the body and the senses. Once I'm all mixed up with the body and all the senses, then I don't know myself. I think I'm a man, I think I'm old, I think I'm this, I'm that. I think I'm an intellectual, or I think I'm a meditator. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm mixed up with, but really I'm none of that. I'm not a meditator, I'm not a man, I'm not a woman, I'm nothing. None of the objects, not a thing, no thing. And the only way to understand what you really are, as in terms of not being a thing and not being an object that you see in front of you, to really get to know the subject, you have to have an incredibly stable observer. In order to observe the observer itself, you need to be pretty damn quiet. Because otherwise you're going to be distracted by, oh, there's a sound. Oh, there is a thought. Oh, what's that smell? So the mind is, again, not in your hands. It's all over the place. How can you use it for true introspection? It's impossible. And then that's the reason why we stabilize the mind. Stabilizing the mind is called meditation or meditation practice. A truly stable mind, in That's the state of meditation. To get up to that state, your life has to allow for that. Now, if your life, the coarsest thing about you, your lifestyle, your character, your daily actions, are disruptive to the process of coming into your center and becoming really calm inside, then you cannot light a fire. It's like trying to light a fire, but it rains, or there's very strong wind, or it's freezing cold. If the weather doesn't allow you to light a fire, you can have strong arms and you can have nice dry sticks, but it won't work out anyways. So you need to make sure that you're in the right place at the right time, and that you're well prepared. Some people can even light a fire, but they haven't prepared at all. So they have no tinder or anything. So they may even get to the point of having an ember, but it quickly evaporates because there's nothing to light a fire with. So you need to have a dry environment, you need to have strength, you need to have time. All these things for meditation to be developed properly. And here's the thing, you don't have to sit for an hour every morning and every evening. But you should aim for that. And then gradually lean towards that. Like, see yourself, if you have real interest, I'm assuming that all of you have real interest to cultivate proper meditation, then I would create a vision of myself. I would see myself as the guy that sits regularly every day in the morning and at nighttime. No breaks, ever. Am I that guy? No, I'm not. Yes. But I really want to become that guy. How do I become that guy? I approach becoming that guy. And I do so, I do my best every day to approach this state. That would be the idea. And then once you've got that, you do the hour in the morning, the hour at nighttime, say, what's next? You keep building up. Then perhaps once you sit for an hour, you might want to really refine that hour and make it very powerful, very meaningful, so you're not just kind of wasting time for an hour, because that's super easy. You may sit there for an hour, maybe even not moving your body at all, but you waste a lot of time thinking about this, thinking about that, not really doing it seriously. Seriously doesn't mean in a grumpy way. Seriously means that you're ardent, you're zealous, you have there is power in your practice. You really want to do it well. You want to do it right. If you have that kind of power, plus the time that you put in, you can't help but get success. I guarantee you that. Even if you sit for half an hour, and you aim to make that half an hour really count, it's super powerful. Better than an hour of nonsense. So where are you at right now? What can you do right now? Maybe 5 minutes? Can you do that regularly? Regularity is really important. If you want to progress, you have to establish some sort of regularity. Must be. That's a must. Otherwise, you can't get anywhere. Again, think of this stick rubbing example. You can't get a fire if you sometimes rub and then not. And then again, it gets a bit warm, then you stop again. It cools down again. Right? Like this, you can't get a fire going. So it has to have some constant effort there. And the good news is, if you make constant effort on behalf of raising yourself up every day, you're showing to every cell of your body and your mind that you matter enough to make effort for. But if you only ever do what's comfortable and feels nice, guess what you're showing yourself? That you have no value to make effort for. Why would I make effort for myself? when I could just be comfortable. Imagine you'd raise children like that. Imagine a parent that just lets their children do whatever. Does that seem like good parenting to you? Yeah, they like doing that. My mom told me a story. When she was a young child, she was going up into a meadow somewhere, and then she would find the, rabbit poop. And the little pills, right? You just start eating that. You just started eating rabbit poop. Just a little child, looked interesting, and so she just ate it. Unfortunately, there was someone there to tell her not to do that. Imagine that person would have been super anti-authoritarian, going like, oh yeah, it's just the child exploring. Just let her be free. It's total freedom of creativity or something like this. It's horrible. Children need guidance. Otherwise they put everything into their mouths. Whatever they get a hold on, they just eat it. It's a thing for parents. They need to make their whole house like child safe. Like electric sockets and all that kind of stuff. Knives. All the things we just take for granted. In the same way, we need to protect ourselves. And we need to kind of raise ourselves and care for ourselves and guide ourselves, because that's the very thing that shows us, wow, I value myself. And when you show yourself that you value yourself, and when it's hard too, when it's difficult, when you go the extra mile to value yourself, you'll get a lot of self-respect. This is self-love. That's what it is. I get up and I make this effort. It feels grueling, it feels difficult, I don't want to do it, but I know it's good for me, so I still do it. Yeah, like that. If you do it like this, you have to make progress. There's just no way you can't make progress. Even I make progress like this. And I'm pretty stupid. Seriously, I'm pretty lost. If I look at my mind, it's just a horrifying mess. And if even I can make progress, so can you. I'm not by no means a special person at all. I'm just a normal, average guy. I'm absolutely 100% serious with that. Super normal, super average. And I feel surprised if I just keep it up. If I do the practice, it's surprising. It's like, wow, it actually works. But I have to keep showing up. So there is a price you pay to lift yourself up. It's maybe better to call it an investment. Invest in yourself. But you would only do that if you consider yourself a worthwhile investment. So, short summary. Stabilize the mind. Allow your attention to become centered, calm. Making your mind able, useful. And use that useful mind so it can know itself for introspection. And once you truly know yourself, well, suffering ends. It just falls off. And that really means suffering ends. It doesn't matter what happens. For you, it is not an event that causes you suffering. What is it that causes you suffering right now? Once you're established within yourself, truly rested in your own mind, in your heart, in your center, no matter what's happening, you'll be just fine. Not only just fine, but happy. Feeling really good. Being at ease, free from it. It's well worth it. You are worth this. Don't you think? All right. Oh, over time already. Do you have any questions?